I'm Monique from ARTrageous Brush Flow, and I'm so excited that you're here. We're going to be painting a pencil. So these pencils are so cute for back to school or just for any teacher or someone who just loves pencils. I'm going to show you how to paint this step by step. It can be displayed vertically or horizontal. So if you wanted the name to go across, like if you have a short name, it could easily go across. Vertical is for our longer names, and you can also put, like, if you wanted Mrs. on top and then your last name, or it could just say your first name, however you want it. Maybe you don't even want a name. You could have what classroom you are. It could say science or something in that order. So this pencil is really easy to paint, and it's a lot of fun. I love doing fun art. So in your kit, you will find you have two paintbrushes. You have a flat paintbrush, a small paintbrush. This is called a round pointed paintbrush for details such as painting your name. Yes, you can paint your name. I promise you can do it. Or you can also use a Sharpie marker or a Posca paint marker. They're great markers. You'll get all your colors of paint in these paint pots and even some extras on the side. Disposable apron comes in our kit, as well as some kind of school ribbon to attach with hot glue. Sorry, I didn't include the hot glue, but your local dollar store, craft store does carry hot glue guns, or if you have a staple gun, you could also staple gun it, but you have to be very careful to make sure that your staple gun staples are not too long where they'll poke through to your pencil. That's why I prefer the hot glue over the staple gun, because the pencil is not that heavy. It has a nice weight to it, but the hot glue will hold it. Also, forgot to tell you, see this black rectangle here? Carbon paper. I know people get really nervous about writing their name, so what you could do with the carbon paper is transfer it right on over to your pencil. So you would just take blank paper and write it yourself, or some people like to print it out on their computer. So you can play with the fonts and measure it and use your carbon paper, gray side up, and I'll remind you of that again, gray side up, darkest side down to transfer. Let's begin. So of course you'll need your paint, right? A cup of water, a paper towel. I tend to, because I'm using craft paper, I'll use this as my paper towel, but if you're not using craft paper, you want to go ahead and have a paper towel. I put my paint is already on my plate. You can use yours right out of your paint pot if you purchase the kit from us. So I'm going to begin. I'm not going to wet my brush. I like to begin with the yellow color of the pencil. And I do that because that way it'll be dry when it comes time to transfer the name over. So I'm going to start out by painting, and I'm going to paint horizontal. So going straight across. Some people like to paint vertical, but a pencil, because it's round and it goes around and around, that's why I paint horizontal. And this is really fun and easy. Painting is always so therapeutic for me. I'm not thinking about anything but how my brush strokes are going across my pencil and how the colors are looking. And I'm thinking about bringing my pencil to life, right? So I won't see any more of this brown color here. And of course you can mix your colors I've been doing a lot of the pencils custom made for people because they just don't have the time, but anybody can do this. So I had someone that wanted a green eraser because there are green erasers on black pencils, even though she still wanted the yellow, but I've seen black pencils as well. Of course, we've probably all seen different color pencils, those branded pencils. I have pencils that I give out at my kids' events that are like neon pink, green, red, blue, all the colors. So of course you don't have to make your pencil a typical pencil because you're the artist of your piece and you get to decide. Like every day when we get up, it's a new day, right? So I say every day is like a new canvas. I'm gonna paint my day. So I get to determine how my day goes. So that's how it is in our artwork, right? You get to determine what you want your artwork to look like. Even though people will argue with me and say, this is not how I wanted it to look. You did it that way, so something internally was telling you, hey, this is the way to go. And I say, as long as you're having fun and enjoying the process of art, don't be hard on yourself, just have fun and just go with it. Let those creative juices flow, get ARTrageous. And people always ask me, what does that mean? I'm like, you know, the definition of outrageous, but I'm doing it artfully. So I'm having fun while creating as much art as possible. So I hope you'll enjoy getting ARTrageous with me, and I hope you continue on your creative journey. Doesn't even have to be painting. It could be writing, dancing, singing, changing furniture around, doing some interior decorating, playing an instrument, doing hair. All those things are a form of art. And I'm sure I'm leaving a ton more out. You can probably give me a whole bunch more ideas. So just going across. And I normally like to do at least 2 layers of the gold. And I'm sorry, I didn't say, I am using my larger brush here. So using that flat brush. You don't want to use your small brush for this unless you just want to take a really long time to get your painting done. The flat brush is actually my favorite brush. I use it all the time. My little small brush is just good for details and, again, for lettering. And of course you can make your letters thicker if you like. So I have my yellow, right? So now I'm gonna rinse my brush. My yellow is gonna be dry by the time it's ready for the name. So I'm gonna rinse my brush good. I normally get some of the water off that way. Then I'm not using a paper towel, I'm just gonna use my craft paper to dry it off. Only because I don't like to waste, and I'm like, I could totally use this. So my next step is, I normally go from large and I work my way down to the smallest. So the smallest is gonna be our point, right, which is our black. So I'm gonna use my eraser, right? So we have that pink there. I'm gonna add just a little bit of white to the pink. Not a lot, because I really like that bright pink color. You might, if you wanna tone it down, you can. So I'm going right on my eraser. And you have those lines right there. And it's okay, guess what? If you accidentally go over your line, you can always go right back over it. Or if it's, while it's wet, you can take a wet paper towel and just wipe it off. Not soaking wet, damp. You can dampen it and just wipe it off. As Bob Ross used to say, I grew up watching Bob Ross. Didn't make many happy little trees. I wasn't into landscaping, but I loved Bob Ross. I loved hearing his voice. It was very soothing and calming. So right there, I just added a little bit of white, but I'm gonna go right back over it with that top. Adding white adds some dimension to it, because we know erasers actually are not flat. So I'm just adding some color in there to give it some character. And see, the white adds some highlights. So you can just take, I just added a little bit of white. You might not want to, you might say, I like it flat. And that's all good, because guess what? It is your creation. You are the artist. It's like when I get to paint with people in person and I let them know that if I paint on their canvas but so much, then I want some of the credit, so I'm gonna sign it too. No, just kidding. I do tease about how much work that I will work on someone's painting, because everyone is an artist. You're born an artist. Everyone is an artist. We are all born with that artistic ability. We may not use it, so then we say, no, we're not an artist. You are. I promise you are. You are. The eraser is one of my favorite things to paint. And again, was using my, oh, a fly got in here. My flat paintbrush. So it's looking good, right? It's getting close, right? So now, I'm gonna rinse my brush again. And our next color, again, I try to use my dark colors last. The color for where we would sharpen our pencil is toffee. And I forgot to grab some toffee as I was preparing. So I'm just gonna take some right out of the kit and that color. And the one cool thing about if you get your kit from us, these are resealable. So the paint will last a very long time. I have paint that has actually lasted for a year, as long as they are closed tight. And these are closed very tight, I make sure of that. I'm like, I double check. So I'm gonna take that toffee color, it's like a light cream, and we're gonna paint that. And again, I'm going horizontal. And I love the flat brush because you could get those nice lines. And of course you can with your round pointed paintbrush, but this brush, the flat brush, the more pressure you apply, the thicker the lines. But the trick with that is if you do it with the round pointed paintbrush, the more pressure, it's gonna fan out, like almost like me doing my hands like that. So your lines may not stay straight. Oh, sorry guys, a fly came in with me this morning. He or she wants to probably paint too, but not today. She'll have to come back for another class, another day. I'm just painting again, horizontal, going across. Really love this toffee color. Some people use this color for skin tones. So again, using my flat brush, and you can turn your flat brush over to its side when you're getting close to the lines. So I just turn it right over to the side when I get to that smaller area. But if you're nervous, feel free to change brushes at any time. You do not have to stick with the same brush that I'm using. This has just been my favorite brush for years. And I'll tell you, I actually fell in love with painting when I was in college. My degree is in sculptural studies. I love building with my hands, making furniture, creating jewelry. I still do. I love working with my hands, but painting it has this therapy about it. It's just so soothing. The same thing with like making a mosaic or doing tile work. I love tiling. I just installed the hardwood floor, which was fun. Don't you feel good when you do stuff with your hands and you can sit back and be like, ah, I did that. Even if you make mistakes, just knowing that you did it. You enjoyed the process. Most of the time, I will say I've had times where I'm like, oh my goodness, I hope this comes out right. But I wound up, stepping back and saying, I did pretty good. I did pretty good. And maybe next time I'll do even better. So that's how I try to look at things and, look at the bright side and say, you know what? I'm here and I was able to do it for myself. And it's lots of cool videos that can easily assist us. There we have it. Sometimes, like I said, you might want to add a second coat for this particular color. It takes so well. This particular paint is a little bit thinner than our other paint. I really love creamy paints, but some companies don't make all the colors, so I have to kind of mix and mingle my colors, my companies. Looking good, right? I hope yours is looking good. I know it's looking good. Hope you're feeling good about what you're doing. So I'm gonna close that up, especially depending on what the temperature is of where you're painting. I know when I paint outside with people, I'm like, we have to move quickly because the paint will start to harden and get sticky because it's acrylic, which is a form of a plastic. So the paint will begin to dry. One other tip is when you're not using your brush, say if you're switching back and forth, you always want to clean your brush off or let it sit in the water. But you don't want your water to go above the metal, especially with the brushes that are, if you bought a paint kit from us, those paintbrush handles are wood. The wood will begin to crack over time. It won't do it in a day, but it will begin to do it over time. So again, I'm gonna rinse off my brush. And I'm just blotting it off on this craft paper again. This is my pretend paper towel, right? My next move is the gray. What is that? Gray right beneath our pencil, that metal. So I'm gonna start with gray. If you wanna make your gray lighter, you can add your white. If you want to make it darker, which we are going to add some shadows to it, I'm going to add a little bit of black to it, as well as white. So again, I'm using my flat brush. And I'm just going across, right? You remember what direction I'm going? You got it, horizontal. Just going across. Taking those nice even strokes. Oh, this fly has got to go. Get off of here. I hope when I leave the art studio today, the fly leaves with me. Oh. So going across, and again, when I get to those smaller sections, I'm going to turn my paintbrush over to its side. Just going across, going across. And I know this is the area where I'm definitely going to add shadows to, but I'm taking my time and going across. Again, going across with that gray. And again, you shouldn't have excess water on your brush, because we don't want this to be transparent, meaning thin, like as if we were using watercolor. This is acrylic paint that we're using. Nice texture. So again, I'm using my side of my flat brush and hitting those small areas. And you can always flip your pencil around. I tell people sometimes, I know when we're so nervous about, we don't want to get paint on a certain area, sometimes your hand may begin to shake, or you just may not have a steady hand. So again, look, my gold is dry. So sometimes you might have to just rest your wrist on it and go alongside. And that's what I'm doing. So sometimes I'll have to do that. Out of the blue, my hand will decide, nope, I'm not going to be steady for you today. Piece of dried up paint just got on there. I'll wipe that off. So I had that filled in. Now I'm going to add just a little bit of black to it to give it some dimension. So again, I'm playing around with my flat brush, but again, you could easily use your smaller brush. So I'll show you with the small brush as well if you're nervous. And we're just gonna create some lines here. So we're just going straight across. And that's me using your small brush. So now I'm gonna switch over. I want it to be a little bit more dramatic, so I want my lines just a little bit thicker. And I'm going right above where we have our gold and right underneath where the eraser is. So I'm going right underneath to add that shadow. And it could be as dramatic as you want. You can add, if you have glitter, you can add glitter. You can bedazzle with rhinestones. In art, I say you can push it as far as you want. I have a painting back here that I did last week, and I added glass. So this is called diamond desto, but it's broken glass. And I don't know if you can see it, but see if you. It looks so much better in person. It's hard to show it on video, but I like it better than glitter. At least for that piece. So sometimes glitter works very well, depending on what you're creating. This will look really nice with glitter as well. Like say if you had some shimmery silver glitter, like here in the art studio, I do keep all the metallic paints. You might want to go metallic because of the metal of the pencil. So again, just continuing that line right under my eraser mark. So I'm just gonna double check my work. You know how we say, you know, if you're writing something or when you're in school and the teacher would say, don't forget to double check your work. So I always try to double check before I move on. So I see a little piece of gray that I missed. So I'm just gonna go right back over it. To make a nice even Steven line there. Just going right across. See one more little spot. I'm always so happy when my hand will cooperate. And my brush too, right? Awesome. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Now it's time for our pencil point, which is black, right? So I'm gonna rinse my brush. I'm not even rinsing it that well because I was using gray, and of course black is our darkest color. So I'm just gonna take that excess water off again. I'm gonna always take that excess water off. And I'm taking my black and I'm gonna paint that our pencil point, that triangle shape. Now and again, when you get to that small area, if you need to switch your brush, feel free to switch that brush. I'm using my flat paintbrush again. I'm just faithful to it. I love it. I love you, brush. You know, it's just my favorite brush. I get so excited as I'm finishing a piece and seeing it come to life. It feels really good. I hope you're feeling good about your piece. And if you didn't want to make a straight line, you can do your own thing. Say if you wanted to make it like wavy, you certainly could. Ta-da! Got a pencil, right? Rinse. I'm trying to get this, I don't know where this came from. It's like some pink. Came out of nowhere. Trying to wipe it off. Because that pink got on my pencil. And again, if you feel like you need another coat of paint, you certainly could. I do want to add one more coat of, no, it's just that pink got on there and I can't get it off. I have like 2 pink dots on there. Let's see if oh, it's coming off with my fingernail. Okay, perfect, perfect. And if you wanted to add like shadows on the sides of your pencil, you could do that as well. I love it this way. I was requested to do one with shadows and I just added some brown mixed with my gold to the side, but I'm gonna leave it like this for today. So you see in my sample, I have a flower. But everybody is not flower people. Like I did one for a male teacher, and he didn't want a flower. So you can embellish it with a flower, an apple. Teachers love apples, right? Which would be super easy. You have your purple paint, and your white paint. And again, I'll show you a little flower here. And I'm not gonna paint a flower on the pencil because I'm actually gonna make this for a good friend, and he is definitely not a flower guy. He actually wants it plain, but I'll show you the trick to making flowers. So I always start, people get really nervous about flowers. So I'm gonna start with my smallest brush. I'm gonna do it. So if you wasn't painting your flower with purple, you can start with the dark and then mix and make your light purple. The way you make a flower, the way I like to make it, first I make a circle. Sorry, we can put it on paper so I can hold it up and show you. Run across the screen. So you make a little circle. Get out of here. So there's your circle. Then I'm gonna make another circle, but it's gonna touch. So it's more like either a circle or a teardrop. And I'm just gonna go around. Until I fill that space. And the one cool thing I tell people too, flowers come in different shapes and forms, right? So there's my flower, and if you want to go on and add extra petals, I did a few extra petals, or you could add little small teardrops. Really get creative with your flower here. Get creative as possible. Just gonna move this tape up so you can see. There. So if you wanted to do like little teardrops in between, so I call them little teardrops. Oops. And it adds character to it. And then you just fill in your area. So I started with dark, right? I started with my dark purple. Now I'm gonna add some white to it. So now I have this pretty lavender color. And I'm just gonna fill in. I'm not gonna cover my dark purple because that's gonna act as a line and a shadow. So I'm just filling that in. Same thing, you're gonna fill your center in. And if you want to give it texture, that means you're going to add a little bit of extra pink, or you're really going to show those brush strokes, or you can go in circles. So it's different ways to add texture. You can, adding texture even is little dotted lines, like Vincent van Gogh did in The Starry Night, right? So I'm just filling in my petals here, and I'm going in a circle motion, the same way that a petal would go, or you could go horizontal. There's my little flower coming to life there. And don't forget, if you added those little teardrops to the side, I'm making them darker. Now I'm gonna go back in with my darker purple and just add in the center. Remember where I first started that circle? And I'm gonna add another little circle. Yeah. And then, right where we already have our dark lines, I'm just gonna go right beside it again and make a half of a, not a complete circle, almost like you're making a letter C on each petal. And that gives it dimension as well. And that's how simple it is to make a flower. I tell people, don't get so caught up in it, because once you get caught up in it, sometimes we get really nervous about what the flower is gonna look like. Flowers come in all kinds of ranges and sizes. Like, I am not, as much as I love flowers, I tell people I'm not the best flower maker. I love, one thing I'm good at is making butterflies. That's one thing you could put on your pencil. Oh, that gives me an idea. I'll do one with a butterfly. So I absolutely love making butterflies, but you just have to, I say for me, I keep practicing my flowers. And of course with your flower, you wanna add a little leaf. If you want, you do have green in your pink kit. So on this one, I added 3 leaves. You can do 3, you can do 1, you can do 2. So a leaf, I'm just gonna start right behind the actual petal here. And I'm gonna make, again, almost like a big teardrop, but it's gonna be bigger. And then you just fill it in. I'm gonna make another one on the other side. So again, coming behind the petal. So there, and you can turn it any way, meaning when you have it on here, you can look at your placement. You might want more leaf falling on the gold of your pencil, or you might want it on your eraser. But that's a simple way of making a flower. You might decide you want a daisy, a sunflower. The possibilities are limitless. Daffodil, a lily, any kind of flower. Or like I said, you might want to add a butterfly. You might want an apple. You might want a ruler. So, and you would just paint it directly. You could paint it halfway on your pencil and halfway on your metal. For this flower, I didn't have a ton coming on the eraser. So it would be like a little peep. You might have 2 flowers. Remember, you're the artist of your piece. Now, I do want to show you how to use the carbon paper. So again, this is the carbon paper. So one side is shinier than the other. So you have a dull side. This is the dull side. The dull side is going to be facing up. So remember, the shiny black side, I'll show you. So see, one side is dull and one side is shiny. It has a little sheen to it. And yours came already cut. I'm gonna cut mine so it's not confusing. I love carbon paper. It's for accuracy, especially with lettering. So you want to, again, shiny side is going to be face down. So I just lay it there. And remember, it's 2 ways to do it. Say if you want to type it out on a computer and then print it out in your black and white, you just want to check the font. Every font is different, so I can't say make it 64. It just depends on what lettering. You could be using Times New Roman or Comic Sans. So that is something you have to play with. But the one cool thing is you can use, your regular computer paper is about the width of your pencil. So you don't have a whole bunch of guessing to do. If your first letter hits here and your last letter hits here, you're all good. So you want it to be nice and big and center, unless you're doing, I just did one for a dean. So we had Dean up here and then her last name there. So I made sure her lettering didn't go beyond our gold pencil or above the metal, or even above her, she did have a flower, so it didn't go above the flower. So you want to notice your space. So let's just say I'm going to write, because I didn't type it out, I'm going to just put an M and a O. That's my nickname, Mo. Okay, see that? I should not use a orange marker. It's black here. And this is what you could do. You could use a pencil. So I have Mo right here. Leaving my carbon paper down. And I'm just gonna place, so if you typed it, if you hand wrote it out, you might even use a ruler, if you wanna make sure your line is good. And I'm just gonna make sure I'm eyeballing it. And I'm just gonna put Mo right in the center. Now, if I was doing a bunch of letters, I would tape this down, or if you're nervous about, like, oh my gosh, I think I'm gonna move this, you can take masking tape or painter's tape and just tape it on, and it will not peel your paint off. And you would just stick the tape right on so it holds its place. And the one cool thing is with carbon paper, you can use a pencil with barely any point. You can use, even a bottom of a paintbrush. You do not have to have like this working marker to use it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and trace it. So right on top of where I made my letters. Say if you wanted to do really thick letters, that would be awesome too. So you would just trace that. If it was a double letter, you would just trace that. And you just press while you write. You wanna, I always do a sneak peek. And this is just a sample. And it's right on there for you. So of course, you would just probably be putting your nickname. And guess what? If you don't like it, carbon paper is so awesome. You can erase it. Now, the only thing is with the carbon paper, it's definitely not like writing on it with a pencil. Most of it would disappear, but you would have to go back over it with at least a single coat of paint. So I just erase that, and I'll go back over it. But there you have it. So again, you can hold it vertical. You can hold it, this is vertical. You can hold it vertical, or you can hold it horizontal. And again, with your string, you can, if you're going to do it horizontal, of course your string is going to go horizontal on the back of your pencil. So this is vertical. I just hot glued it and let it sit for about 5 minutes. And then there you have it. And you can also change the ribbon, like the ribbon we include, this one says the alphabet on it. You can change it. Some people like just yarn. You can even have a hole drilled in it. I didn't want to drill holes because I didn't want to damage. I love how the eraser looks, so I thought it looked better this way. You can even, if you didn't want ribbon, the dollar store sells like the the little hooks that you can actually, with the teeny little screws, and put on the back and have it like sit on a wall. So you can use this in different ways. Or if you didn't want the string to show, you would just place it down low and just have your little, and this can be hung up with a thumbtack. The weight is not a heavy weight. It can be hung up with a thumbtack as well. So we're all done. I wish you so much luck with penning your pencil. I hope this video helped you to create something very special, and I hope you continue your creative dreams every day. Again, I'm Monique from ARTrageous Brush and Flow here in Philadelphia, talking to you from my art studio right here in Germantown. Enjoy, keep being artrageous. See you soon.